let's begin this chapter inside the atom. So, what is an atom? Atom is the smallest unit of matter that all the things in this universe are made of. Can you recall what is meant by matter? What is an atom? What is the smallest unit of matter? We will study about these questions in this chapter. We have seen that matter is made of molecules. Molecules are formed from atoms. So, in our surroundings, there are various substances, and each of it is made of matter. And within this matter are molecules. And molecules are nothing but different forms of atoms. Effectively, an atom is the smallest unit of matter. So, the atom is the smallest unit of matter. An atom is the smallest particle of an element which retains its chemical identity in all the physical and chemical changes. So, no matter what changes you do to that substance, the atom of that substance will retain all its properties, no matter chemical or physical properties. The following table shows the names and formula of some substances. Complete the table by putting tick marks in appropriate box to indicate the information of the smallest particle and the type of matter. So here we have been given a table which comprises of the name of the substance, its formula, and the smallest particle of the substance, whether it is an atom, a molecule, and the single type of atoms in the molecule, different types of atom in the molecule. So we have to classify these. And also the type of matter, whether it is an element or a compound. An element is a single substance, whereas a compound is a group of elements. So let us see the first example. The first example is very common, and that is water. The formula for water is H2O, which is 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen. Hydrogen is denoted by H and oxygen is denoted by O. So water is nothing but 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen. So is it an atom? No, because it is comprising of more than 1 atoms. Therefore it is a molecule, because molecule is nothing but more than 1 atoms combined together. Is it a single type of atom in the molecule? No, because here we see there is hydrogen as well as oxygen. So there are different types of atoms in the molecule. Also, is it an element or a compound? Water is a compound. Next one is oxygen. Oxygen is nothing but 2 atoms of oxygen combined together. Therefore, it is a molecule and it is comprised of single types of atoms in the molecule. And this is an element. So you all must have noticed what a periodic table looks like, and all the examples that are put up on the periodic table are nothing but elements, because the periodic table is a classification of all the different types of elements that are found in nature. So the next example is helium, and the molecule formula for helium is He, and it is an atom. It is not a molecule because just 1 atom gives you helium. It is a single type of atom in the molecule because it's only helium and no other atom. And this is a part of the periodic table, hence it is an element. The next example is hydrogen. Hydrogen is H2, which is 2 atoms of hydrogen together. So it is not an atom, but it is a molecule because it comprises of more than 1 atom. It is a single type of atom in the molecule. Also, it is an element. The next example is ammonia. Ammonia is NH3, which is 1 atom of nitrogen and 3 atoms of hydrogen combined together. So, it is not an atom, but it is a molecule because it has more than 1 type of atom in it. And because there are different types of atoms in it, therefore, it is a compound. The next example is nitrogen, which is 2 atoms of nitrogen together. Therefore, it is a molecule, but it has a single type of atom in the molecule. And it is an example of an element. The next one is methane. Methane is CH4. So that is 1 atom of carbon which is combined to 4 atoms of hydrogen. And this is a molecule. But it does not have the same atoms in it because there is carbon as well as hydrogen. Therefore, it has different types of atoms in the molecule and it is a compound. The next one is argon. Argon has a molecular formula of Ar. It is an atom and it is just one atom. Therefore, it just has a single type of atom. And it is an example of an element. The next one is neon, which is similar to argon because it just has one atom and it is denoted as Ne. Therefore, it is an atom with a single type of atom in the molecule and it is also an example of element. The last one is chlorine. Chlorine is denoted by Cl and it is two atoms of chlorine combined together. So it is a molecule and it has a single type of atom in the molecule. And this is an example of an element. So let us summarize this table. An atom is the smallest unit of matter and a molecule is a group of atoms. So if the formula has more than one atom, it will be a molecule. The next thing we have to see is the types of atoms. If they are different type or if they are same type. So if there is a single type of atom in the molecule, then it is usually an element. But if there are different types of atoms in the molecule, then it is usually a compound. Next, we will study about the types of substances. We have learned in the earlier standard that the smallest particles of most of the substances are molecules. So most of the time, the smallest particles are molecules and not just single atoms. The molecules of a few substances contain only one atom. So those that have just one atom are very few. Molecules are formed by the chemical combination of atoms. So when we seen in the earlier table, if they had more than one type of atom, there was a combination which was forming a molecule. From this we understand that the smallest particle of an element taking part in chemical combination is an atom. Therefore, in any chemical combination, whatever is there, it is always an atom which is taking part in it. And that therefore, atom will never change its chemical or physical combination or its properties. The concept of atom is more than 2500 years old. However, it was forgotten in the course of time. In the modern times, scientists on the basis of experiments explain the nature of atom as well as the internal structure of the atom. So earlier when the atom was first explained, it was not able to see it because it is very small and therefore the scientists did not know that if it is true or not and therefore left the concept. But now in recent times, when it is proved that an atom really does exist, they are now using it as the basis of many experiments. It started with Dalton's atomic theory. So Dalton was a scientist who gave his theory called the atomic theory. Do you know, Indian philosopher Kanand in 16th century BC stated that there is a limit to divide matter into small particles. So as you divide matter into smaller and smaller particles, you will notice that there's a limit. There's only up to a certain point that you can divide this matter. The individual particles that constitute matter were named by Kanand Muni as Paramanu, which means smallest particles. So when he divided and performed experiments, he noticed that only up to a certain limit that you could divide the matter of particles. So therefore, he named it as Paramanu, which means smallest particles. He also stated that Paramanu is indestructible. So he found out an atom in 6th century BC, but he named that as Paramanu and he stated that that was indestructible, that is, you could not destroy it. Greek philosopher Democritus in 5th century BC stated that matter is made of small particles and these particles cannot be divided. So he also stated similar to what Kanand stated, in which he also said that as you divide matter, you will get to a smallest particle and that particle cannot be divided. The smallest particle of matter was named by Democritus as an atom. So he was the one who gave the word as atom. In the Greek language, atomos means the one which cannot be cut. So because atoms could not be divided, therefore he gave the name in Greek called atomos, which means the one that cannot be cut. Let's learn now about Dalton's atomic theory. British scientist John Dalton put forth in 1803 AD his celebrated atomic theory. So John Dalton was a British scientist who gave us his atomic theory. According to this theory, matter is made of atoms and atoms are indivisible and indestructible. So he said that everything around us is made of matter, and this matter is nothing but thousands and millions of atoms. And these atoms are indivisible and indestructible. That is, no matter how hard you try, you cannot break this atom. All atoms of an element are alike, while different elements have different atoms with different mass. So what he said was that atoms of an element are alike, that is, they are the same. Of one element, the atoms are the same, while different elements have different type of atoms and they differ in their mass. Try this. Take a solid ball and a bundi laddu. Press both these spheres with your palms. What did you find? So when you take a solid ball and you press it with your hand, you have to put a lot of force and you may not even be able to crush the ball. But a bundi laddu can easily be crushed with the palms of your hands. Cut the solid ball with a sharp knife. What did you find? So when you cut the ball, you will notice that the solid ball is filled with mass inside it. Therefore, it is made of matter. A bundi laddu is found to have an internal structure. It is formed by sticking smaller particles, the bundis, to each other. So if you notice very carefully, a bundi laddu is made of smaller bundis sticking together. However, the solid ball, broadly speaking, does not have any internal structure. So when you cut this ball as such, you will not find any smaller particles that are stuck to each other, like how we found the bundi laddu. The atom, as described by Dalton, turns out to be a hard solid sphere with no internal structure. So Dalton did not exactly see the atom and did not know how it looks like. So what he said was that the atom is like a ball and it is very small and hard and it does not have any internal structure. According to Dalton's atomic theory, the mass is distributed uniformly in the atom. So, since Dalton did not see what an atom looks like, he described its mass as distributed uniformly, that is equally, in an atom. But the scientist J.J. Thomson demonstrated experimentally that the negatively charged particles inside an atom have a mass of 1800 times lesser than the hydrogen atom. So J.J. Thomson was another scientist who, after seeing Dalton's theory, he performed several experiments. So in his experiments, he noted that the negatively charged particles within the atom have a mass which is 1800 times less than the hydrogen atom. Later, these particles were named as electrons. So now, within an atom, all the negatively charged particles are termed as electrons. Common substances are usually electrically neutral. Obviously, the molecules of substances and the atom which combine chemically to form molecules are electrically neutral. So, if you see around you, the book on your table or the pencil will not have any charge and they will be electrically neutral. Because in this substance, there is matter and this matter is comprised of atoms. And in these atoms, there are negatively charged particles as well as positively charged particles. And both these together make the substance as electrically neutral. How is an atom electrically neutral in spite of having negatively charged electrons in it? Thomson overcame this difficulty by putting forth the plum pudding model of atomic structure. So this is what J.J. Thomson's plum pudding model of atom looked like. So now let us discuss about Thomson's plum pudding model of atom. The plum pudding model of atom put forth by J.J. Thomson in the year 1904 is the first model of atomic structure. So earlier, when Dalton had put forth his atomic theory, he had just given us what his thoughts were about the atom, but he had not given us a model of what the atom looked like. So therefore, J.J. Thomson was the one who gave us the first model of atomic structure. According to this model, the positive charge is distributed throughout the atom and the negatively charged electrons are embedded in it. So what Thomson told us that in an atom there is a positive charge that is distributed equally in the atom, and inside these atoms there are electrons which are embedded in them. The distributed positive charge is balanced by the negative charge of the electrons. Therefore, in the final substance, when we see around us, there is no charge to it because the positive charge and the negative charge cancel each other out and they are balanced. Therefore, the atom as a whole becomes electrically neutral. Do you know, the plum pudding or plum cake is a sweet dish prepared during Christmas. In old times, this dish was made in Western countries by adding pieces of dried fruit called plum. These days, raisins or dates are used. So therefore, J.J. Thomson named his atomic model the plum pudding because he believed that within the plum pudding, as you add dry fruits or raisins or dates, similarly there are electrons embedded in the atom. Can you tell if the striker flicked by you misses the coin that you aimed at, where would the striker go? While playing games such as Carom, you must have noticed that when you flick the striker and it misses the coin that you aimed at, the striker would go forward and hit the edge of the other side of the board. If the striker hits the coin, in which direction would it go? So this is pretty obvious that when you flick the striker and it hits the coin will go forward in the direction in which you flicked the coin. Rutherford's nuclear model of atom. Now Rutherford was another scientist and he gave his own nuclear model of atom in 1911. Rutherford studied the inside of atom by his celebrated scattering experiment and put forth the nuclear model of atom in the year 1911. So Rutherford was a scientist and he performed several experiments. From these experiments, the most famous one was the scattering experiment. And by this experiment, he gave us the nuclear model of atom. So let's see what did he do in this experiment. Rutherford took a very thin gold foil which had a thickness of 10 raised to minus 4 millimeter. So it was very thin, and bombarded it, that is fired it with positively charged alpha particles emitted by a radioactive element. So on this foil he fired these positively charged alpha particles, and from where did he get these particles that were emitted from a radioactive element. He observed the path of the alpha particles by means of a fluorescent screen around the gold foil. So around the gold foil he placed a screen so that he could see the pathway that the alpha particles were taking. It was expected that the alpha particles would get reflected from the gold foil if the positively charged mass were evenly distributed inside the atom. So according to J.J. Thomson's plum pudding model, he told us that within an atom, the positive charge is equally distributed in it. So therefore, if it was true, then in this gold foil also, the positive charge would be equally distributed. And therefore, when we bombard it with alpha particles, they would be reflected back. That is, they would hit the gold foil, and in that they will hit the positive charge and they would be bombarded back no matter where the alpha particles were hit. So if it was hit over here, it would be reflected back because the whole gold foil is equally distributed with positive charge. Unexpectedly, most of the alpha particles went straight through the foil. So this was surprising, because when Rutherford performed this experiment, he noticed that when he actually bombarded it with alpha particles, most of them went through. They did not come back. A small number of alpha particles got deflected from the original path through a small angle. A still smaller number of alpha particles got deflected through a larger angle, and surprisingly, one alpha particle out of 20,000 bounced back in the direction opposite to the original path. So this is an example of the actual Rutherford experiment, in which this is the alpha particle emitter. That is, this is a radioactive element which is emitting alpha particles. And this is the gold foil. And this purple is the fluorescent screen, so that Rutherford could come to know where the alpha particle was going after hitting the golden foil. So when the alpha particles were bombarded on this gold foil, he noticed that most of them went through, as we can see in the ones behind over here. Then he noticed that some got deflected through a small angle. That is the ones we see over here and over here. That tells us that some of them got deflected through a small angle. And an even smaller number of particles got deflected by a large angle. And that is what we see on either side over here. But only one out of every 20,000 bounced back. And we can see that by this one, which is coming back to the original position. Now, what does this experiment tell us? The large number of alpha particles that went straight through the foil indicates that there was no obstacle in their path. So there should have been a positive charge over there, and it should not have allowed the alpha particle to pass through. But this did not happen because the alpha particle was easily able to pass through. It meant that there must be mainly an empty space inside the atoms in the solid gold foil. So this told us that J.J. Thomson's plum pudding model was not completely accurate, and mostly inside the atom there is mainly an empty space. The small number of alpha particles that get deflected through a small or big angle must have faced an obstacle in their path. So because these ones were deflected back, they must have encountered an obstacle, and therefore it changed the direction of the alpha particle. It meant that the positively charged and heavy part causing the obstruction would be in the center of the atom. So this told us that the main obstacle that is present within the atom is in the center, and therefore we come to know that the positively charged particles within an atom are present in the center of the atom. From this, Rutherford put forth a nuclear model for atom as follows. So this is what Rutherford's atomic model looked like. And in this we can see that most of the alpha particles are able to pass through, whereas some deflected by a small angle, and even few deflected by a larger angle, and only 1 in 20,000 returned back. So now we will see all the points that Rutherford put forth. So in this he said that there is a positively charged nucleus at the center of an atom. So after doing these experiments, he concluded that all the positively charged ions that are present in an atom are located in the nucleus, and this nucleus is present in the center of the atom. Secondly, he said that almost all the entire mass of the atom is concentrated in the nucleus. So after this he said that even though the atom is very large, the entire mass is concentrated only in the center, and that is in the nucleus. He also said that negatively charged particles called electrons revolve around the nucleus. So he said that how the planets are revolving around the sun, similarly there are electrons that are revolving around the nucleus. The total negative charge on all the electrons is equal to the positive charge in the nucleus. So within the nucleus there are positively charged ions, whereas the electrons are negatively charged. So the number of electrons that are revolving around the nucleus would be equal to the positive charge that is present within the nucleus. Therefore, as the opposite charges are balanced, the atom is electrically neutral. So because the number of electrons is equal to the number of positive charges in the nucleus, therefore the negative and positive are equal and they will cancel each other out, hence making the atom electrically neutral. There is an empty space between the revolving electrons and the atomic nucleus. So, as he's seen that most of the alpha particles were passing through, therefore, he realized that between the electrons and the nucleus, we can find a lot of empty space. Use your brain power. Which discovery did point out that an atom has an internal structure? So it was Rutherford's scattering experiment which told us that an atom has mainly an internal structure. What is the difference between the solid atom in Dalton's atomic theory and Thomson's atomic model? So if you remember, Dalton just proposed that an atom is present and it has positive and negative charges. But Thomson's atomic model told us that the atom is like a plum pudding in which the positive charges are equally distributed and electrons are embedded in it. Explain the difference between the distribution of positive charge in Thomson's atomic model and Rutherford's atomic model. So, in Thomson's atomic model, if you remember, the positive charge was equally distributed in the entire atom. But Rutherford's scattering experiment told us that the positive charge is concentrated in the nucleus of the atom, which is in the center of it. What is the point difference between the place of electron in the atomic models of Thomson and Rutherford? So, Thomson said that the atom was like a plum pudding in which the electrons were embedded in it. But Rutherford told us that the electrons are revolving around the nucleus which consisted of the positive charges. What is the thing which is present in Rutherford's atomic model and not present in Dalton's and Thomson's atomic model? So Rutherford's atomic model basically concentrated on the empty space that was present in the atom, which was not told to us by Dalton or Thomson. If you want the detailed explanation to all these questions, go to www.jkacademypro.com. An established law of physics, an electrically charged body is revolving in a circular orbit, its energy decreases. So, there is a law in physics which is proved in which they tell us that if an electrically charged body is revolving in a circular orbit, its energy will decrease after a certain amount of time. According to this law, the atom described in Rutherford's model turns out to be unstable because Rutherford told us that the electrons were revolving around the nucleus. So because the electrons are charged, that is they have a negative charge, and that they are revolving in a circular orbit, their energy would tend to decrease and therefore they will become unstable. But in reality, however, an atom except the radioactive atom are stable. So mostly all the atoms are stable except radioactive atoms. So how do we prove this? This shortcoming of Rutherford's atomic model was removed by the atomic model put forth by Niels Bohr in the year 1913. So this unstableness that should have been present in the atom was not explained by Rutherford's model. And then there was another scientist called Niels Bohr who put another atomic model which proved that the atom was stable in 1913.